Hello, Gareth here, and welcome. In this lesson, we're going to paint a tree in watercolor, and we're just going to do a very simple tree. And first of all, I'll draw it. Normally, I don't draw my trees, but just maybe to give you an idea of how to paint a tree, I'll do a drawing. So I'm not even sure that makes sense, but let's continue. So I'm just going to do 3 parts. 1, 2, and then here another bit. So I'm going to have the light coming this way, and then on the top it's going to be lit up, and here too. These are kind of like roundish kind of shapes, yeah? And of course later on I'll make them more rough edged, but they're basically like that, yeah? And then here it's going to be darker, especially this one because it's on the furthest side, yeah? But it might catch a little bit of the light. This will catch a bit of the light here, and this will catch a bit of the light here. And then I'm going to have a simple trunk coming up like that, and then just a few branches like that. So let's paint this one. So I'm using my pointed oval brush, and in the description box you will find all my materials, not many. So this is Imidazolone yellow, and I'm adding a touch of blue, Cobalt turquoise light, bit more of this, and I think that's too greeny, so I'm going to add some yellow ochre, make it more of a musty green. And I splay my brush hairs like this. So this is about maybe 3/8 of an inch or 1 centimeter sized brush. And I'm just going to do this in this area like that, and here is a bit here, and I want gaps. Trees don't always have gaps within them, but to paint a tree with gaps normally looks better than one without. And then I'm going to make the shadow areas. So just 1, 2, 3 bits, yeah? Keeping it really simple. So I'm using phthalo blue, a touch of alizarin crimson, and I'm just going to spray this. Never spray spray horizontally. Let the drops fall down like rain. And this is quite a watery mix, and I'm just going to let that, well, dab it in. And here too, I'm trying to retain those white gaps. And here too. Now most of this is going to be in shadow. Like that. So I'm quite happy with that. Then get my phthalo blue, alizarin crimson, touch of yellow ochre. This is going to give me a strong dark. Phthalo blue is a very powerful colour, and it's good for making darks. And then here I've got my trunk like that, and then up here I've got thin branches like that. So this is very, very simple, yeah? I know that There's all kinds of different trees. I might even put a few little darks in like that. Have to be careful though. I know there's all kinds of trees and they have different shapes, and to be honest, I have to study that more than I do. But for a beginner, hopefully this exercise will show you how to make a very simple tree. Now what you could do if you're really fussy is you could get like a liner brush or a bamboo brush, and we could basically do a bit of splatter as well, but we don't need to. I mean, look at that tree. It looks beautiful. In my opinion, it looks better than a real tree. So yeah, could be a bit of vanity there. So now I'm going to do some splatter. So what I really need to do is have some kind of cut out card or cut a square out of this and then put it over the treetop and then splatter. So I will do that, but I haven't done it yet because I'm too lazy, but I will do it at some point. And we can get just these lovely little dots, and it just adds, it gives it a bit more of a poppy feeling. And if you've got any dots in wrong places, tissue, press, press, press. And there you go. So now we're going to paint this scene. Just a minute. Here we go. So now we're going to paint this. So we're going to do a beautiful glowing sky. Then we're going to do here, this field, and then the tree, and then afterwards we'll do these distant fields. But I'm going to change this a bit because I think that looks a little bit boring. I'm going to have it more undulating. I think that's the word. So let's dive straight in and do this painting. Okay, so I've got my clean paper. I'm going to use a mop brush, and I'm going to use, oh look, my colours are dirty. So I need some yellow ochre. Always use plenty of paint. Here we go. And then I'm going to have my sun about here. And as you're painting this picture, please try to enjoy these beautiful colours. I get a lot of enjoyment just from looking at the beauty of the colours. Okay, and then down here, soaking wet brush, I'm going to do a mark here. It's going to go up, and that stops this edge here from drying out super quick. Yeah. Okay, so now we're going to get some alizarin crimson. Hopefully it's not too dirty. And you start from the outside and move in so that it blends. Too much red, so wash it out, dab it, and now there's less red. Well, theoretically, which means nothing. Okay, now there's less red, and it should begin to blend and give a slightly more orange color. So this is how you can get really bright glowing watercolor paintings, by mixing your colors on the paper itself rather than in the palette. But I don't recommend that for everything, but I do it with some things like the sky. and sometimes the ground. And see how I go round like that? It doesn't have to be perfect, because these marks will just become very soft and blend in, and it will look good. Now I'm going to spray, and I know I keep saying this, but it helps. I'm sure it helps you. Don't spray that, spray horizontally. Because I think when you're painting, you just forget these important things. So now I need to get rid of that yellow, because I'm going to put blue down there, and I don't want the blue blending with the yellow and giving me a kind of greeny colour. So I just wipe that up like that, and now I'm going to go in there with blue. But look how I wet my brush, I wipe it on the rag. Please use your rag. Just always use that rag. And then I'm mixing it up, so I've got no bits and bobs in there. And then here we go. Look how beautiful that is now. I'm just lessening it a bit. And then hopefully this is going to become a purple colour. And look at that. And just let's enjoy these colours a bit. Spray. Now that's very purple, but here I'm not so sure, but it's good enough. And then what I'm going to do is finish off the bottom area. So get some yellow ochre, mix it. It's a little bit dirty, but to be honest, that's not such a big problem. But can you see how beautiful these colours are? Can you see how the painting seems to almost glow? Okay, then we're going to do clouds going up into the sky. For that, I'm using this pointed oval, yeah? I love this brush. So it's going to be a purplish colour, a reddy purple rather than a bluey purple. Oh dear, I've got a lot of green in my blue. So careful how I take that. Okay, and I'm going to spray this again. And I think we're ready now. So that's a very reddy purple, right? And look at that. You can see that it's perfect, the softness, yeah? It's not spreading too much, but these are going to be beautiful, soft clouds going up into the sky. Look at that. What a lovely feeling, yeah? There we go. And I know that this probably isn't very natural looking, this dramatic change, but I like to push it a bit, and I like to exaggerate, and just to enjoy the colours, the colours of the paint themselves. I like to really let them shine through if possible. So I probably should tell you that. Okay, and now it's time to let that dry. And down here with the yellow, I've missed a bit and it's white, but it's such a light colour, it doesn't matter. We're going to go over this with a dark mix and you just won't see this, so it really doesn't matter. I'm just wondering if I should blend that in a bit more, but I think I'm going to leave it. It looks a little bit strange, but to be honest, I quite like it. So if you wanted to, you could blend it in a bit more, but just be careful that you don't paint on it when it's almost dry, because then you're going to get ugly cauliflowers. Okay. This has now dried, and I'm going to do now the hedge, the field, and this tree. And I'm going to do the field in maybe a strange way, because I'm going to do it dark first and then add the light. So I'm using my flat brush. I think this is about 2 centimeters, so an inch and a bit, something like that. And I'm going to make a dark mix. So I get my blue, phthalo blue. I get my alizarin crimson. A touch of yellow ochre. And this is a lovely dark colour now. And maybe from about here to here, I'm going to do that. And with this brush, I just cover this space in no time. I might make it a touch higher. Oh, that was a mistake, but it's okay. Looks powerful, right? Okay, and now I'm going to get this brush and I'm going to, I guess we could make this look a little bit rougher, a bit more uneven. That will do. And now I'm going to just spray that to keep it wet. And I think what I'll do now is my tree, and I'll have it about here in the middle. I'm not sure if that will work, because I want to show the shadow from the tree. That's very important. If I have it here, it's all going to be a bit cramped, that shadow, and we're not going to see the full shadow and be able to appreciate the full beauty of it. So like before, this was my tree, my example. I'm just going to make a slightly smaller version of that. So there's just 3 parts, right? I just put this where I can see it. Okay, so just work out here in the middle, about this high. Okay, I made it a little bit higher. It's good to experiment. So that's bit 1, part 1, part 2, and then here, part 3, comes down like that. And spray, it really needs spraying. And what I am going to do now with the yellow is just do the top of this, because it's drying out pretty quickly. Okay. And then I think that's okay for now, but just spray it again. Keep it wet and workable. Wet and workable. Okay, let's continue. I hope that was recording. My brush fell on the floor, and accidents will happen. So I need a thick mix here, very, very thick. And then let's do that trunk area about here. And then going up here. And then my brush is too wet, so I need it a bit drier in order to get those thin lines. And I need something here, I think. So just get some yellow, just a little bit of yellow, and add that there. And a tiny bit of shade for that. So you have to roll with it, so things kind of go a bit different to what you planned, and it's important to work with it. Now I'm going to do a little bit of splatter. Here we go. I don't really need to, but to be honest, it's quite good fun. And I think that's enough. Get some tissue, wipe up the bits I don't want, and then I'm going to I should have gotten some more yellow paint in my palette. Now I'm going to do these streaks like this. I love to do this. I'm not sure if what other watercolor artists think to this, but I think it looks beautiful. And then a touch more here. And then I'm going to do the field and some grass across the field. I've got a pool of paint at the bottom here, so I'm just wiping that up. And I'm going to have the lines maybe like that. Dramatic angle. Don't worry if some go the wrong way, as long as most of them are going in the right direction, it will look okay. And I'm taking my clips off now. And what I'm going to do now is take some of this dark paint, just do these corners, and maybe do a few little lobby dark areas just to make it look more maybe realistic. So maybe here, maybe here. But we've got some lovely colours, We've got some lovely textures, and it's just got this spring kind of feeling to it. And maybe here I need a bit more yellow. Okay, I think that's quite nice. And I think it's time to do the shadow. Maybe I should wait a little bit. So I'm making the shadow mix: phthalo blue, alizarin crimson, yellow ochre, and it's very thick. And so just think about the shadows now. So it's going to be like that, and then it's going to go across like that, and we're going to get maybe some shadows here and here. So I think the tree being even further to this side would have been even better. Just going to do a little bit here in this hedge, a few shadow areas here. But I think that's quite nice. And then I'm going to do some yellow splatter down here. Whoa. I contaminated my yellow. So here we go. And I think that's definitely enough, maybe too much. So let's leave that to dry and see what it looks like in a minute. I think maybe I just need a little bit there, touch there. Wow, very powerful. Perhaps one final thing that I do need to do is at the bottom get some tissue and just wipe up the excess paint. So I'm just catching the bottom of the paper. Like that, and it's a bit light here, so I'll just darken that, and maybe here. Maybe the angle of this is wrong. It maybe looks too rounded, so Not too sure about that, but I think I'll leave it now. Okay, let's leave that to dry. Okay, it has now dried, and I think maybe just like this it would even be okay, but I'm going to add some hills in the distance or some fields. So what I do first of all is paint the hedgerows and the trees, and because they're in the distance we want a bluey green mix, so I'm using this light blue, and I'm going to add a touch of red and a touch of yellow ochre and a bit more of this, a bit greener, and a bit more, and here we go. I think maybe I've done the tree too low, and if it had been higher it would have been better. But we'll see what happens. Okay, and if I can, I do want to get dry brush effect. So as the brush becomes a bit drier, it is actually easier to achieve that effect. And that's looking quite nice. Bit too dry there perhaps, so we need a little bit more paint. There we go. And some blobs like that. These might be distant trees. And here's another one. It looks a bit too similar. Have to make that different. And then I'll have another one here. And that tree is a bit, maybe it's okay. And then over here we'll have another tree up here. Like that. I think that's quite nice. And then let's do some hedgerows. So we're going to have going across this field, I should say. And they're a bit bushy, and maybe there's a tree, well, or a big bush there, like that. And then here too, this is going to be at a very extreme angle. And we can play around with this bush here as well. Okay, maybe like that. Oh, I quite like that. I think that looks nice. And now, even trickier, another field over there, far, far away. So this needs to be very bluey, but not totally blue. So that might work. And maybe there can be something like a hill, and it comes down like this. Wow, I'm being very ambitious here. Hopefully that will work. And then maybe it goes up a bit there, and then over there, like that. Okay, I think that looks quite nice. Now obviously it's very pale, looks almost like snow, so I'm going to paint that, but first of all I need to let this dry. But we've got a lovely dry brush effect here, which is really nice. I might just do a few birds up here. I don't really know if they add to the painting. Maybe I should do them here. They're like flying from the sun towards this tree. That might add a bit more to the painting. So you need to get a really nice thin point. And I wonder if I do one right here in front of the sun, is that like, I've never done that before. Let's see. But at least we're going to get high contrast, aren't we? So I think that could be a good idea. And then I'm going to do another one here. And then one more, but have to make it not too similar. So like, if I did it here, it would look like a triangle. So that has to be avoided. Maybe here. There we go. I think that looks quite nice. So let's leave it to dry. This has now dried, and I'm going to do a pale green wash over here and here. So I can use the paint that I've already got in the palette, and as long as it's watery, it's not going to be too dirty. And here we go. I'm very careful not to let paint pool up here. So dab on my rag and then remove excess paint. That's really nice. And let's do the other side. And I'm just going to fade it a bit. So this is now quite dry, my brush. Dabbing it on my rag, making it dry. Because I want a good contrast between this green and this green to give a feeling of perspective. So this green has to be more vibrant than this green. And I'm just having a look now, and I think that's it. And I think it looks really nice. So I'm just going to sign it here. So I use this brush. I have no idea what it's called. It's a Japanese brush, but it has like a bulb here that holds a lot of water, but then a thin point. I call it a stinger because maybe it looks like a bee stinger. So I think down here, I'll do my signature. I find that this brush, yeah, I should say why I use this brush. I use this brush because it gives me a super thin line. So I take a little bit of time just to get the right thickness in my mix. If it's too thick, it just will not give me a thin line. It will just not even go on the paper. If it's too watery, it will give me a thick splodgy line. So I think here, don't want it too close to the corner because this edge will be covered with a mat. So I do a dot, a line, it's a bit wet. Up, down, like that. G for Gareth. N for Naylor. And then line going across. It's slightly abstract because I think that fits into the painting better. I perhaps would like to make it a bit smaller, to be honest, but there you go. And just check the painting, and I think that's it. What I could do, I probably should stop, but I'm going to do one more thing, maybe a bad idea. I'm going to get my white, touch of yellow, and I might do a highlight here. I think it's dried now. Now, I always like to push it a bit. Whoops. Which is not always a good idea. Yeah, your finger can be a good eraser. But I just like the idea of the sunlight catching the top of this hedge. But I shouldn't do a continuous line. I realised that here. It needs to be a broken line. And maybe in some areas a bit thicker. It's all experimentation, isn't it? Trying out new things. But it keeps it fun, doesn't it? I'm just trying to make it a bit thicker, a bit splodgier in certain areas, which I think looks more natural. And I might do the same thing on the tree. Once again, I'm not sure if this is such a brilliant idea, but nothing ventured, nothing gained. I quite like that, actually. Just these little glimmery touches. You don't have to do that. Leave that choice up to you. But I quite like it. I like to do something a bit different. And that's it. Finished. Review time. So, overall, I'm really happy with this painting. I think it's very, very beautiful. And I really like the feeling. So let's look at the individual parts. So the sky, I think I'm happy with the sky. I think it's very beautiful, but it is a bit strange. However, I personally quite like that. but I think it's not going to be everybody's cup of tea. But I actually do like that a lot. So I'm happy with that sky. Even like here where it's a bit light, I think that's okay. I don't think that's a problem. Next, this field. I think this looks lovely. Maybe the tree over here a bit more so we can see this shadow better. But still, I think it works well. It's like leading us into the painting, perhaps, this shadow, and to the main focal point, which is the tree. So maybe it's okay. I love the textural effects here and here. So I think the mistake I made though was with this shadow. It's too curvy. It probably should be more like come down more vertically, I think. Not completely vertically, but a lot more vertical than it is. So if I do this painting again, which I will, I'll make that more vertical, and then it won't look, this bush, hedgerow, will not look so rounded. Okay, and the tree, I'm really happy with the tree. Maybe a few gaps in here might be even better, but I still think it looks good. And it's, yeah, it looks like a good tree. It's a good looking tree. So I'm happy with that. And this background, I'm very happy with that as well. Possibly I could try and make this far distance fainter by going over it with water and then wiping it up. But I've done enough with this painting and this is nice. I'm really happy with this dry brush. I think that's lovely. And I think this green works really well. I'm happy with my signature, happy with the birds. This highlight, I'm not sure about that. I think it's okay, but I'm not sure if the painting really needed it. Maybe if I did pure white, that would have been better. So maybe, well, when I do this painting again, I will use pure white. So that's my review. And I hope you have a go at this painting, and I hope you have a lot of fun. Remember, it's all about having fun, because if you're enjoying it, you'll do more painting. And if you do more painting, you'll just become a good painter. It really is as simple as that. Bye for now.